Greetings, everyone. DFG here, Gideon Flight. Hey, guys. Sometime when a mighty house is burning, you need to pray for a strong wind. Yes. Let me repeat that. Sometimes when a mighty house is burning, you should pray for a strong wind. Now, you may say, okay, DFG, where are you taking us? Where are we going on this particular, message? Or what I like to believe, or I like to call journey. When you read through our book, and I'm going to always reference that book whenever Yahuwah, puts it up on my heart to do so. But when you think about, one of the stories in our historic book, and it talks about one of our forefathers, Joshua. If you don't know who Joshua is, then it's time to learn about who Joshua was. Joshua was one of the he was the person that was how would you say this word? He was the individual who the predecessor, right? Predecessor. Joshua was the predecessor, or the man who came after one of our great prophets, Moses. And so Joshua was a very courageous man, a man of high integrity. As a matter of fact, Joshua's integrity was so high that in the book of Joshua, it speaks clearly that Joshua obeyed all the things that were commanded of him by Yah. Even Moses did not do that. Moses did not enter into the promised land, if you know that story, and I won't get into that. But Moses was denied an opportunity to go into the land of milk and honey, the very destination that he was leading the people to. He never himself was able to arrive into that particular place. When he led our people out of Egyptian or Kemet or African bondage, when he led us away from the African, he was to take us into the land of Canaan, a land that was supposedly, well, it wasn't supposedly, a land that was promised and had been cultivated and prepared for us by the Most High. Sometimes, a curse can, be a blessing. And many times, a blessing can look like a curse. When you look at the coronavirus and what it has done to the economy here in America, so-called, and what it's doing right now to corporate and, business America, it is causing a firestorm like none of us could have imagined only a year ago. And so therefore, when you hear me say that when a great house is burning, maybe you should pray for a strong wind instead of praying that the fire is put out. We don't always understand the hands and the workings of Yah. But this we shall know, or should know, and can know, that Yah hears the prayers of the righteous. The righteous are those who have a heart that's pure towards Yah. And you've heard me talk about that before. Again, I'll quote 2 Chronicles 16 and 19 to you. It says, the spirit of Yahuwah, or Elohim, go throughout the whole land, looking to show himself strong into the hearts of those who are perfect towards him. Perfect towards him. Perfect in what? Perfect without sin? No, he never said that. He didn't say the Rahuk of Elohim goes throughout the whole, land looking for the sinless. He said it looks for those whose hearts are perfect towards him. Those who have a perfect mind to not only acknowledge, but to honor, to worship, to identify with Yah. That's the perfection that he's talking about, or the writer is talking about in 2 Chronicles, and that's exactly what I'm talking about when it came down to Joshua. Interestingly enough, there's a story of one of Joshua's battles, and it's in the 10th chapter of the book of Joshua. And what I want to do is compare and contrast for you the coronavirus and maybe I'm going to use the word maybe its true intention is to settle things, to preserve something that was already storing in terms of what was the judgment, or what was to be the expected consequence, the brewing, something that was brewing for America, and perhaps the entire globe. And I can say the entire globe, and here's why I'll say the entire globe. You know, Yeshua told his disciples, his followers, and Yeshua went out and told many, that they would be hated by all nations for his name's sake. And we were taught, you know, in religion, or at least in Catholicism, and you know, and the branches of the Catholicism, Protestantism, Methodism, all of those things, we were taught, that meant that, you would just become a Christian. That's not what he was talking about. They were never even called Christians. The word Christian wasn't even used in the scripture until it really was in the book of Acts, or the Acts of the Apostles, when someone said, oh, these individuals are trying to act Christ-like. So when he said they will be hated by all nations for his name's sake, he was talking about the people who are called by the name of Yeshua, the Hebrew Israelite. And you've heard me say before, and even if you've heard me say before, but just take a moment for self-reflection. Come on. Tell me what nation of people are hated of all nations. Come on, take your time. Oh, yeah. Those Negroes, those African Americans, those are the ones. No matter where you go on this planet, you're going to find racism and bigotry towards the Hebrew Israelite, the so-called Negro. You go to Africa, you're going to find racial bias. You go to Australia, you go to Antarctica, you go to Europe, you go to Asia, you go to, come on, which one did I forget? Did I forget one of them? Maybe I did. South America. I'm sorry. Not leaving you out of this conversation. South America. You'll see vicious racism of groups against one group of people more than any other group of people. Now, am I saying that there's not racism going on between certain tribes and certain ethnic groups? Maybe the English don't like the Irish. Yeah, but the English might like the Irish, but the Irish is not hated by all nations. The Irish man can go many other places around this planet and be accepted as, a white man, or a, good man, or, okay, I digress. All right? But that's something about that Negro from Negro land, or the kingdom of Judah. And you need to look that up. And the kingdom of Judah, obviously, was not Israel or not Jerusalem. For you who do not know, go back and find an old map. A map of Africa around about the 14, 15, 1600s. And look real close. And you're going to see the Gold Coast line. You're going to see the Ivory Coast line. And you're going to see the Slave Coast line. But right above that, you're going to see the name of the Slave Coast. And guess what that name is going to read? Go look. It's going to say the Kingdom of Judah. So even the Africans were hating on the Negro from Negro land, or the Kingdom of Judah, or the Judeans, the tribes of Judah. How about that quick little history lesson for you? I bet you some of you didn't know that. So when Deuteronomy 28 and 63, about 67, 68, talk about 400 years of oppression coming across seas, in slave ships, it's not hard to recognize who and what people that Yeshua was talking about when he said they would be hated of all nations for his name's sake. Because Moses was talking to those people. I know some people will tell me, well, no, they were talking about Egyptians. No, he was not talking about the African enslavement of our people in Egypt, Kemet, Africa. He was not talking about that. Because if you think, when Moses wrote Deuteronomy, okay, he had already come, the Egyptian slavery, the Ethiopian slavery had ended already. The Egyptian slavery had already ended. He had already led them out of Egypt through the Red Sea into, the wilderness. Correct? So he prophesied about another 400 years that they would come in slave ships and the women and men would be in bondage and no one would free them and no one would help them. started kind of familiar to you about right now. But again, I digress again. But when Yeshua told our ancestors that we would be hated by all nations for his name's sake, he didn't give us an explanation. He didn't say they would hate you because of your perfection. He didn't say they would hate you because you would be sinless. He didn't say they would hate you because you were from, the kingdom. He said they would hate you for something that they couldn't quite understand themselves. He didn't give us an explanation of what that hatred would be. He said, but if they hated me, they're going to hate you. And you think about it, that particular people, of all the people, this particular people, the children of Israel, and in particular, the children of Judah, are some of the most despised, detested people on the planet. And you think about their behavior, they are some of the most loving and giving and forgiving people. Giving and forgiving people on the planet. And I don't want to, let's not get into this whole how they treat each other. They treat each other because of the curse that's upon them. You say, well, what curse is upon them? Hating their brothers, hating their sisters, not honoring, Yahoo, Elohim, but taking upon the ways of the heathen. And we were forewarned not to take upon their ways. And if we did, that there will be consequences that will befall us. Go look at Ecclesiastes, chapter 1. Go read Ecclesiastes, not these, Ecclesiastes in your 1611 King James version of the Bible. It's written there. You can read all about what would happen if we interacted with the heathen. In other words, we took upon their customs. He never told us to hate the heathen or to hate the Gentile or to despise the Gentile. He told us to come from among them and to not accommodate or acclimate to the Gentile, is what he said to us. So therefore, we have turned upon one another. Blindness in part has happened to Israel, and to the fulfillment of, the doctrine, or the fulfillment of the revelation of who we are has come. Because once we come into the revelation of who we are, we'll stop killing. We'll stop self-destruction. We will move away from the customs of the heathen. Elohim is telling me to say this, so I'm going to say it. Didn't plan to say it, I'm saying it. But one of their customs, a man sticking his penis in another man's behind and calling that love or a relationship, similar to a male and female relationship, and marrying each other. And I could go even farther, but I'm not going to go any farther. But as you think about it, when Elohim brought forth this virus, he took our children out of these heathen schools. And you might think about that, because I did. I said, well, if the coronavirus is killing old people, sickly old people and sickly young people, why would the children have to be taken out of school? The little kids. I mean, what is not harming them? And it isn't harming them by the grace of Elohim. He's always going to protect the little ones. He says, suffer the little ones and forbid them not, for such is as the kingdom. He's always going to protect the babies. At least the babies, of the kingdom, and the babies of those who embrace the people of the kingdom, I might add. So he shut down these vicious, rotten witchcraft schools. Right at the apex of them pushing this debauchery. Remember Alicia Keys painting her little son's fingernails, Pharrell wearing the dress. Remember Dwayne Wade, turning his son out. Yeah, I'm going to use that word, turning him out. Prostituting his son. Transforming his son from a male to a female. And some of these other celebrities who have kidnapped our children, legally kidnapped our children, and like Charlene Theron dressing two little boys like little girls. Remember, they were talking about this year Chicago school would be teaching about all the great accomplishments of homosexuals. Remember, I talked about that about a year ago, before the school year started. So Elohim has come on strong, and he's done something. He's put a stop to some things. Even if it's temporary, he stopped it. Why? Have you given that any consideration? For all you individuals who are praying, oh, end this thing, end this virus, end everything, and get things back to normal. My question to you, what are you praying for and why? Have you gone before the Most High, like Yeshua said, not my will, but thy will be done? Have you tried that on before? Just say, you know what, I know what I want, because my flesh lusts for those things, for the pleasures and the cares of this life, this world. But it's not about me. That's what Yeshua said as our example, right? He said, not my will, but thy will be done. Many of you guys pray it in the Lord's Prayer, don't you? Can I help you? Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done. Thy will be done. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Thy will be done on earth. Whose will? Yah's will. Some of you guys are praying the Lord's Prayer and have no understanding or revelation of what you're saying. You're saying thy will be done, but undo thy will. A great house is burning, but you won't ask for a strong wind. You're asking for rain to put the fire out, to bring back the normalcy that was destroying a generation of people. Oh, I know many of you think, well, the Most High would never do such a thing because he's all loving and he's kind. And, like Caesar Borgia, the pretend, Jesus, look at him. He looks so pleasant and he looks so peaceful and, and beautiful, blue eyes and long stringy hair and, and he's so pure and white. Lie, 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 lie. Maybe it's time for you to pick up the book and see what Daniel had to say about his tone, or what John had to say in Revelation about his tone, or Job had to say about his tone, or what Solomon had to say about his tone. When I mean tone, skin tone. No, we are the people. And the thing about it, we don't need anyone to validate that. That's already written in stone. There's nothing can change that. There are a lot of people, a lot of organizational groups, and I have nothing against these groups who want to push, living by the laws and the commandments. I have nothing against that. If you can do it, more power to you, do it. But some of them can be arrogant enough to say, well, only we are the children of the Most High because we do his will. That's a lie. That's a rotten lie straight from the pits of hell. That's a deceptive lie. You're the people whether you obey the commandments or not. You're just going to be judged, according to your works. But you're the people. We're the people whether we practice Passover or we practice all the other customs. Don't let anybody who's telling you that is either ignorant or intentionally telling you lies. Your bloodline is your bloodline. Simple and plain, period. Nothing can change that. You're your father's son. If you went out there and became one of the most vicious criminals on this planet, your father is still going to be your father. And your father might try to not claim you or denounce you, but at the end of the day, you're still his son. The scripture talked about it in Luke. I want to say it's around chapter 18 in the Gospel of Luke. And it goes on and it talks about in the Gospel of Luke, it talks about the prodigal son and how this young man left, his father's home and took all of his inheritance and went out and squandered it all over the planet and all over the countryside. And then when he had nothing, he was down there with the pigs. And then he thought about, I'll go back home. And the real strength of that particular story, in my opinion, is the redeeming qualities of the father. The father never at any time denied that was his son and never at any time allowed his heart to be hardened against his child. Although his child was wretched and was was living such a debauchery that he was laying down in a pig pen and filth and garbage. But when he decided to get into his right mind and went back, not only was his father there, but his father gave him everything that he had lacked. And then the judgment, maybe these Hebrew Israelites, custom keepers, law keepers, they would be that son. That son, who came to the father, oh, why you doing this for him? He left off and ran, and I stayed with you, and I lived right with you all this time. Why would you embrace him? You know what the father told that son? He said, be quiet. So your brother was lost. He said, you've always had this stuff. But he was lost, and now he's back home. We're going to celebrate. We're going to get him a purple coat and a purple robe, and we're going to be proud that he's back with us. So no. We're his children regardless of what anybody says, even if it's our own who are trying to say that. People say, well, prove. I don't have to prove anything. The word proves it. My love for Yah, our love as a people for Yah, our mercy, our kindness, our forgiveness, our tolerance of others, no matter how vicious they are towards us, it's evidence of who we are. And we don't have to get into the DNA. We don't even have to get into that. I could take you to a journey of this country's history and its treatment of the Negro, and I could have you, denying your own ethnic group because it was so violent and so vicious how we were treated. And yet we still walked among these people, honored these people, addressed these people as yes, sir, and yes, Mr. and Mrs. Got off the sidewalk when someone was coming down the sidewalk. Took care of their children, nursed their children, cleaned their homes, washed their bodies, nurtured their sick, healed their sick, cooked their foods, etc. Even today, outsiders can come in our communities and they're embraced. We can go in other communities and we're despised. Run out of it. Nigga, get out of here. Signs painted on us. Nigga, go home. When last time you heard hunky go home painted on the house in a black community when white gentrification comes in? No disrespect to talking facts. When the last time you seen that happen? And we embrace the Arab, the Asian, all of them. But all these same groups despise and hate us. But when it comes down to monetizing us, taking advantage because of us, see, we are a blessing to them too. You didn't hear me, right? Let me say it again. We are a blessing to them too. Wherever we go, it's a blessing to those who are around us. That attraction to us, that energy that's felt from us, that's from Elohim. And yes, we are a blessing to them because guess what? They are able to send their kids to school, build homes, start other businesses off of the little pennies and the crumbs that we have, that we share or give to them. What other group can do that? Share their crumbs and pennies and enrich a whole culture or many other cultures just because they're doing business in that community. Tell me what other group has blessed another group in such a way. I'm talking about the pennies that we have, the penance that we have. And we have enriched them. That is a blessing to them. Is it wise for us? Probably not. But if it's a blessing to them, undeniable. And where's that blessing coming? Again, from the Hebrew Israelite. That's exactly where that blessing has come from. And it's time that we just cut to the chase and acknowledge the truth. I was in a conversation today with one of my, co-workers who happened to be a Caucasian 27-year-old white male. And we went to talking about, scripture and history and talking about, racism. And I brought him to the book, and I didn't open up the book, but I told him some things that were written in the book. And one of the things I said to him, well, tell me something, if black people, including myself as a child, could worship a white Jesus and go into churches with a white Jesus and never have any problem accepting a white Jesus. Never, ever, ever. Then why can't whites, if you tell them that the Hebrew Israelite is the black man and that Yeshua is a black man, that they have a problem with that? Now all of a sudden, we're racist. But when we felt assured that Caesar Borgia, white Jesus was God, we had no problem with that. Many of us still have no problem with that. You go to your social media page, you see that many of these Christians still, every time some so-called, every time some holiday comes, religious holiday comes, they're telling you about white Jesus. White Jesus in the coronavirus. White Jesus, you were born, on day 2 or day 1.5 on a 3-day resurrection. White Jesus was born, on December 25th, Santanea, which is clearly proven that holiday had everything to do with Santanea or the worshiping of orgies and sexual debauchery. St. Valentine's Day as a day for child molestation. Grown men having sex with little children. Oh, you don't think I know what I'm talking about. Of course you don't. Of course you don't. But maybe it's time for you to take your own little journey, back and look up the beginnings of a lot of these traditions that you're practicing. We talked about, Easter, the fertilization holiday. Rabbits laying eggs, if you can believe that. Derivatives of words, taking, Easter and going to Easter and then saying, well, since we can't use Easter because it's so close to Easter, so let's be like a wolf in sheep clothing and call it Resurrection Sunday. Some of you not liking that. But let's go down this journey of self-deception so that we can continue to embrace the way of the heathen. Maybe again, Yahuwah has put this upon us, to open up our eyes and to judge the wicked in this land. I'm talking about shutting down the economy. Whether you buy into the coronavirus or not, at the end of the day, it's neither here nor there. It's the agenda that's being pushed, whether it's 5G, coronavirus, whatever. It is what it is, and you got to deal with the reality, and you are dealing with the reality just like I am right now. So it doesn't matter if it's a conspiracy or not. What matters is that it's in place, it's impactful, and it's having its results, intended or unintended consequences. And it's not the first time that Yahuwah has done something in nature to get the attention of his people and to judge others. Again, a mighty house is burning. Are you praying for a wind? Are you looking for a rainstorm? What are you praying for? Look at it. Think about it. Just ask yourself the question. Thy will be done? Is it your will or his will? Just wondering, because if it's your will, that's fine. You can admit it. But in that admittance, understand that you're rejecting the Most High. Yeshua didn't set that example for us. That was an example. He said, when the disciples came to him and said, teach us how to pray. Remember that? Go to Matthew chapter 6 or 7. And the question that they presented was, Lord, Elohim, teach us how to pray. And he didn't get more than a sentence or two before he said, thy will be done. Whose will? Elohim, Yahweh's will. Yahuwah's will be done. Yah will be done. On earth. Yah will, not my will, Yah will be done. So if this house is burning or coronavirus or whatever is going on in this society, what if it's Yah will? What if Yah has stopped it all, has shut the whole earth down so that his will can be done? It wouldn't be the first time. It wouldn't be the first time. But now, man, I went on a little bit long here. So I'm sure you guys are used to my 5-minute, 10-minute, 15-minute videos. And I promise you, I'm going to go back there. But for right now, I'm giving you what he's giving me. And this has been burning in me. Bit by bit, all day long. Started off with a little drop, and then it's gone up to the point now it feels like a tsunami trying to get out. And like I tell you many times before, if you stayed this long, you might as well stay for the conclusion, I'm not saying you're going to learn something, but you may be challenged to reflect on something. So let's go to the book of Joshua, okay? And I'm going to get through this. I'm going to read you 10 verses, okay? To validate how Yah can shut down a nation, shut down the earth for his will to be done. Especially when it revolves around judging the unjust in the land. When he's trying to purge us from the wickedness. And again, I've already given you examples earlier in this particular message on the things that were going on towards the end of last year, coming into this year, or the beginning of the school year, the agenda that they were pushing on our children. Glory be to Yah to shut it down. Let you take that. Now, if someone is misleading your child, it's you. Now you're accountable for what's going into the mind of your children, not some witch doctor or some wizard, with a degree, what I'm saying, from some grove they call college, where they teach all kind of cultic, lies and deceptions. Because anytime an institution teaches against Yah and the people of Yah, it's wicked. And most of your universities are exactly that. And that's where you're getting your witches and your warlocks who are coming into your classrooms and influencing your children with rainbow colors on, telling them somehow it's all inclusive and that it's okay to have anal sex. And it's okay to understand the difference. There is no difference between a boy and a girl. You're just one. Going totally against the nature of creation. So he shut it down. Shut it down. I want to take you to somewhere else where he shut it down. Okay? I promise you. You're going to learn two things in this. Okay? And it's not going to answer your questions. But I guarantee you when I'm done, it's going to give you a few more questions. All right? Some more things to think about. Joshua top chapter 10. Let's see if I can get through this. Now it came to pass when Adonai, the king of Jerusalem, had heard how Joshua had taken Ai and had utterly destroyed it, as he had done to Jericho and her king, so he had done to Ai and her king. And now the inhabitants of Gibeon had made peace with Israel among them. And they feared greatly, because Gibeon was a great city and a royal city, and because it was greater than Ai, and all the men thereof were mighty. Wherefore the king of Jerusalem sent to the king of Chevron and unto the king of Yamah. And he goes on to 5 kings. I'm not going to give you every one of these kings. He said, come up with me and help me that we may fight in Givon, for it has made peace with Yeshua, or Joshua, and with the children of Israel. Therefore the 5 kings of Emeron, those other 4, I'm not going to go through all of that. And the men of Gibeon sent to Joshua to the camp at Gilgal, saying, slack you not your hand from your servants, and come up. Now this one, see these men, and I want you to go back and look at this for yourself, guys. When you go back to 10, look at 10 and 6. Now the men of Gibeon, these were not Israelites. These were not of the tribes of Israel. But this group was a nation that aligned itself with the people. And I say that to many of you, don't let your culture, don't let your ethnicity, don't let, a history that's full of half-truths and lies cause you to hate something that you don't have to hate. See, these other 5 kings, they had that hatred in them. They were envious and jealous of these people. And they knew this was a strong and he was a small people, but a mighty people. But one of those, there was another nation who said, no, we're going to align ourselves with these people, because we see in them something good and something decent, whatever that might be. And I share some of the goodness and the decency of our people in terms of how we embrace others, to the love, the sacrifices, the turning of the other cheek, to you name it, we have done it. When that mighty house was burning, we didn't ask for a strong wind. We went out there and said, how can we help put the fire out? It's time for that to stop, my Hebrew sisters and brothers. Get out the way. The time has come. It's 400 years and counting. Yahweh will be done, regardless of what we might think, regardless of how you might feel. The question is, will you be separated and spared from it? Or will you be lined up in and dealing with the same judgment that they dealt with for denying who the Most High is, and denying that Elohim, or Yahuwah, is Elohim? You say, well, I never denied that. Well, he said that when you hated your brother and you hated your sister, you did it. He said, when you did it to the least of these, my children, you did it unto me. So yeah, you're doing it. You're doing it. Not all of you, but some are doing it. Some of, that old crab in the basket. How do you use that term? There are some Hebrew Israelites, they cannot stand for one of their own to do well. Can't stand it. They will attack. And you go back and say, why you attack? Well, I just don't like them. What do you do? I just don't like them. It sounds like like an idiot. Only idiot would not like somebody just because. But inside of our ethnicity, it happens all the time because we're being judged because we, again, try to become something that Elohim told us to refrain from becoming, is to stay away from. Don't practice, don't participate. Stay out of their business. Let them do their business. But we just kind of got right in their business like a dog going back to his own vomit or a pig going to the mud. And now we're wondering why we're perpetuators of that same filth, not only amongst our own, but actually we're perpetuated throughout our communities. All right. Got to get back to business. Verse 6, and the men of Gibeon sent unto Joshua to the camp of Gilgal, saying, slack not your hand from your servants, and come up quickly and save us and help us. You see, these people had no problem calling themselves servants of the people of the Most High because they were servants of the Most High. This country right now will hardly say anything negative about the Jews because the Jews are so-called, especially in the Protestant and Christian, communities, because they're the children of the Most High. You curse Israel, you curse the Most High. You curse Israel, you curse the Jew. Okay, let's apply the same laws with us. You applied it with them when you thought that they were the true people. Revelation 3 and 9 shows you 4 and 9, both Revelation chapter 3, verse 9, Revelation chapter 4, verse 9 told you they're the synagogue of Satan, that they're not the real Jews, that they're false Jews, claim to be something, but they're not. It's right there written in your Apocrypha book. So as you honored them, why can't you honor the real people if your heart is pure? It's one thing to not know the truth. Something totally different to know the truth and not do. When you were ignorant, you didn't know any better. But now you're supposed to be, well, I know you're informed if you listen this far. So now what are you going to do? Are you going to do what these people did and said, we're your servants? In other words, we're your allies. We're going to stand with you. They weren't their servants in terms of servitude. They were their servants in terms of we're a part of who you are. We identify with you. We recognize who you are. We recognize the strength and the spirit of what you represent. And we want to be a part of it because it's righteousness. And wherever wickedness attacks us, we want your support. And when wickedness attacks you, you're going to get our support. How about that for the mentality of a Gentile? But you're gonna have to really grow and stretch your heart and search out, the scripture, and then pray and seek out Yahuwah so that he can give you the strength to be able to walk away from the lie and embrace that truth. Because this is a hard truth. That's a hard truth. The truth I'm giving you is a hard truth. The young man I was talking to today, when I shared these things with him, you know what he told me? He's like, man, I always thought that, black people were from Africa. I didn't realize that, that Egyptian bondage, that African bondage, was Africans who had enslaved y'all. I didn't realize that it was Africans who were selling you guys to the Arabs and selling you guys, to the Jewish, to the Englishmen, to the Spanishmen, etc. Or the Italian man. I didn't realize that. I thought it was y'all against y'all. He said, I need to go start reading more about the book. I need to get the book and start learning more. That's exactly what he said. I wonder what you're going to say. Let's go on farther. So Joshua ascended from Gilgal, he and all the people of war with him, and all the mighty men of valor. And Yeshua said unto Joshua, fear them not, for I have delivered them into your hand, and there shall not a man stand before you. In other words, he said, I don't care how bad their armies are. When I'm done with them, that army is going to be torn to shreds. Yeshua therefore came unto them suddenly, and he went up to Gilgal all night. Joshua. And Yahuwah discovered them before Israel, and slew them with a great slaughter at Gibeon, and chased them along the way that goes up to Bet Sharon, and smote them at Esqua until Medadah. And it came to pass as they fled before Israel, and were in the going down to Bet Sharon, that Yahuwah cast down great stones from heaven upon them, and they died. And there were more which died from hailstones than they whom the children of Israel slew with the sword. Now here's where it gets to the caveat. I want you to listen to this part really carefully, guys, these next couple of verses, and then we're going to conclude. Okay? Then spoke Joshua to Yahuwah in the day when Yahuwah delivered up the Emirans before the children of Israel. He said in the sight of Israel, son, get this, guys. Yahuwah said in the sight of Israel, sun, stand still, and you, moon, stand still in the valley of Avion. And the sun stood still, and the moon stayed until the people had avenged themselves of their enemies. Is this not written in the book of Jasher? You know, the book of Jasher was in this cipher Bible. It's in the King James of 1611 Bible as well. But here it is, Joshua referencing the book of Jasher. How many of you knew that? But see, I don't want to digress right there. Because the book of Joshua is just Genesis personified, expanded. But a lot of people, we don't recognize the book of Joshua because there's no way to validate it. Lie. I just validated it for you. Joshua 10 and 13, I just validated it for you. So don't let one of these liars come and tell you, it's not been validated, it wasn't canon. If they validate the book of Joshua, then you got to validate the book of Joshua because the book of Joshua referenced the book of Jasher, Jasher. But guess what else you heard me say? Let me read it to you one more time. Rahuk, calm me down. Then spoke Joshua to Yahuwah in the day when Yahuwah delivered up Emiron. That's all 5 of those kings, all those people who were warned against them. He said when he had conquered them, and the words of Yahuwah had delivered them into the hands of Joshua and his men. He said in the sight of Israel, check this out, sun, stand still. Moon, stand still. And the sun stood still, and the moon stayed still until the people avenged themselves of their enemies. Coronavirus. And I would say this to you. You start thinking about the sun standing still and the moon standing still, according to what the scripture is saying. And it said, let every word be established by 2 or 3 witnesses. It said it twice, guys. Not one time. It said it twice. So if you tried to misunderstand, the sun stood still in the heavens, the moon stood still in the heavens, and it did not move until judgment had been completely passed upon the enemies of the children of Yah. Why are you praying for a strong wind? For this burning of this mighty city. Why? Why aren't you? That's what Joshua did. Joshua said, hey, look, can you make the sun not move? Can you make the moon not move so we can just finish this thing off and get rid of these enemies once and for all? If you think this economic system that we have been a part of and been victimized of, not only the Hebrew Israelite, but all poor people, if you think this wicked system has robbed and pillaged and used it to monetize themselves and to cause all kinds of stuff and poverty and every kind of other debauchery, if you think this wicked system should be done away with, why are you praying against it? I know somebody because I don't want to lose anybody. I don't want anybody. Look, son. Look, sister, brother, father, mother. We all got another place to go. We all have another place to go. This, fortunately for some, unfortunately for others, but it's all inclusive to everyone. We all have somewhere to go. We're all leaving this dimension. Every last one of you leaving, your children leaving, all of us are leaving. So there's no sense of, look, judgment is coming, and it's coming soon. This phenomenon that's going on this earth right now is something that has never happened in the history of mankind, at least in the recorded history. With the exception, when the moon stood still and the sun stood still. And I'm not going to get into the science of that because, on a revolving earth, okay, see, I'm not going to get into that. I'm just going to tell you what the book says. And my Bible teaches me that every word of Yah is true. Every word. That's what my book, and that's what I believe. And it also tells me, let every word be established by 2 or 3 witnesses. I saw 2 witnesses here. So what am I saying in the end? What are you praying for? Are you praying for a strong wind to burn down this mighty city? I'm not talking about one city. I'm talking about the nations. Are you praying for a strong wind to bring an end to this? Many believers are one of the things that they have a central desire for is that this world that we live in today ends and something better comes. Almost every religion is praying for that particular place of what would be the word that I would use for that? I guess the only word that comes to my mind is just a blessed place, a place of peace and love. It's a word it's right on the tip of my tongue, and I can't get it out, so maybe it's not for me to say. Ethiopia, Europia. See, I'm still saying it wrong, but I bet you one of you guys know what I'm trying to say. Many of them are praying for that type of place to live, where all these things that you see, crying, suffering, debt, lying, stealing, murdering, pain, suffering, that these things are gone. Utopia, see? Utopia. Many of us are praying for utopia. And yet Yahweh said for utopia to come, wickedness got to end. And wickedness is not going to end without judgment. So I've given you some food to the perspire. Goodness gracious. But, that's all I can do. That's all I can add. I'm sure there'll be more to come, so, thank you for listening. I'll tell you one thing, get your book, validate, hear all things, you know what I'm saying? Keep that which is, pierced, what the scripture says. Hear all things. Never be closed-minded and say, well, just because I don't agree with something doesn't mean that it's wrong. I can disagree with something and it still be right. Remember what Solomon taught us? There's a way that seemeth right to a man, but the end of that way is death. Right? Study to show yourself approved, a workman that needed not to be ashamed, rightly dividing what is truth. Right? Remember that? The words are there for us. Yahweh is crying to us and moaning for us. So Yahweh isn't, but the heavens and the earth is. Yahweh is just looking upon us and just waiting. Maybe like he caused the moon and the sun to stand still for Joshua, so that the rest of us can get it together and can come together and come into our right minds. And for those outside, ethnic groups who are going to align themselves up, for them to finally, for once, take a stand and say, look, they supported us when they thought our Jesus was white. I mean, we can go in any black church in America 25, 30 years ago, and you probably would have saw that. You can see it in many churches today. Why can't we support them just because of the fact we found out that, the Messiah is a black man, and more importantly, the Negro, so-called here in America, Turtle Island, is the Hebrew Israelite. Glory be to Elohim. Why not? Surely we had no problem, as I said earlier, supporting you. And some of us still do, because we're still dealing in darkness. Blindness in part has happened to Israel. You follow me? Until the day of the light, until the day of judgment, it's revealed unto them. And then, like everyone else, every knee is gonna bow and every tongue is gonna confess to the glory of Yah that Elohim is the Father. And like, I don't know about you, but I can't wait for that day to come. I've been living for that day since I knew that day was going to come. So I've been living for that day since a child. Living at least with the hopes of that day coming. Only that I could do something to live up to it, you know what I'm saying? To some standard, that I would not be caught, you know what I'm saying, slacking or lacking. And again, that's the meat. So, yes, the great city is burning. You follow me? The great house is burning. Let's pray that the wind continues to blow till all this filth and the remnants of this filth is gone. And then something new, something better has taken its place. Love you guys. Talk to you later. DFG. Bye now.